Hey guys, Chapadong here, and I just wanted to really kind of pop in here. It's been a little while since we've had questions or answered them through video format, and I've got something that I think can really simplify what you're doing today. We live in a world of complex trending info and StatCast data and all this jazz, and it's great. And if you've got the time to dig in, go for it. Sometimes, though, we run into paralysis by analysis, and as we kind of overdo it or dig too deep, we get too lost. It's almost like a baseball player trying to fix his own swing on his own, or a golfer trying to fix his own swing on his own. At some point, it gets so complex that you need somebody to unravel and detangle the mess for you. This is no different. DFS is not much different. Here's what we need to do. Let's look at some simplification, because in a lot of cases, as everybody else gets too complicated, the contrarian moves to kind of get simple again. Come back to the basics. What teams out there in the world, you got all the tools available to you here at DFS Army, but what teams in the world should we be targeting with our stacks? Bad pitching, right? I mean, what if a team gives up a ton of runs? Probably whoever's facing them is probably in a pretty good spot, right? What if the team that's facing them is a great offense? We should probably be targeting them too, right? Let me show you a couple of key stats, real easy to find out here on MLB.com. You can use year-to-date numbers, month-to-date. You can go last 2 weeks, right? And just take the team hitting numbers. Sort by home runs, sort by runs, sort by OPS, whatever. These are the teams that are producing in the last 2 weeks. Philly, LA, Minnesota, San Diego, Texas, New York. If you see these guys, even Oakland, if you see these, Washington, if you see these guys on the slate, put them in the short list of players that you want to target today. Do you want to be targeting San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Arizona? Probably not right now. They're not going very well, right? I don't care who they're facing. They may not be able to do much. Look at the home runs. Dodgers, Yankees, Oakland. Why is Oakland so low owned right now? They've got the third highest home run rate of any team in baseball over the last 2 weeks. Philly, Baltimore, Seattle. Okay, pretty good pick. Texas on the list again, right? OPS. Dodgers, Twins, Yankees, Phillies, Red Sox, Oakland. I mean, are you seeing some of the same teams here? Good offenses that are going well are good offenses that are going well. Okay? Let's get into the nitty-gritty here for a split second, though. And let's see if we can't target some of the bad teams. We switch to pitching. Who's given up the most runs? Earned runs, regular runs, whatever you want to call it, over the last 2 weeks? Who's given up the crap? Miami, target them. Milwaukee, target them. Toronto, target them. Angels, Guardians, White Sox, target them. Oakland, target them. Why? They're allowing a ton of runs. Miami, LA, let's look at the home runs. Who's given up the bombs? Padres giving up tons of bombs. Miami. It's no wonder they're allowing a lot of runs. They're giving up a ton of home runs. Milwaukee, Oakland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Arizona, Chicago, Houston. Okay? I've got this list, and I'm looking at teams that have, look, guys, I'll put it in the camera right there. It's a list, and I know you can't see it. Oh, look, you kind of can, actually, if it gets too close. It's got some of the team names, and it's got some of the numbers circled. I rank them. I rank them by who's the worst and then who's allowing a ton of bombs. That's what I want to know. And then I come in here to, the domination station or something, and I start looking at FanDuel, DraftKings, doesn't matter. Main slate on the 8th, that's tonight. How big of a slate do we have? 7 games? Fine. What teams are facing what teams here? Is Miami on the slate? No. Well, Colorado at Coors is. They haven't been giving up a bunch of runs lately, but they've been on the year. They do give up the most runs. The Angels, are they on the slate? No. White Sox, are they on the slate? Yes. So Tampa Bay is in a good spot. Is Tampa also on the other list of an offense that is scoring? No. So maybe they're just kind of mediocre, right? Who else is on the list? Tampa Bay. Well, okay, Tampa Bay. Is Chicago on the short list? Chicago kind of was on the 2-week list. We did see them in producing. So if Chicago goes off tonight, it shouldn't surprise you. I don't care about 3.49 and 5.2. I'm telling you, this game here alone might be worth game stacking. Depends on who's on the mound. If it's one of the worst pitchers, got a 4 or a 5 or a 6 ERA, it might be worth game stacking even. Nobody would do this. Nobody would be on this. But it shouldn't surprise you if either side goes off. Am I recommending it right now? No. But, it's in my head. It already has some reasoning to it. Who else besides Chicago and Tampa Bay? San Diego. Are the Padres on this list? No. How about Toronto Blue Jays? No. Arizona Diamondbacks? Yes. So Cincinnati's in a good spot, although Cincinnati is not on the offensive list. Colorado? Yes. San Francisco? Not on the offensive list. Milwaukee? Number 1 in home runs against. Are they on this list? No. Nah. Looks like a pretty weak slate tonight. Washington. Is Washington on this list anywhere? Yes. Baltimore. Baltimore, mind you, is number 2 in home runs in the last 2 weeks. Not only are they number 2 in the list, but they're a top 10 offense. Baltimore's in a good spot to score runs. Washington's been scoring runs lately too. But these are probably the areas that I would focus the most. I'd be focused maybe on Cincinnati, on Baltimore, on the White Sox, on Chicago. I know that Houston gives up a lot of runs, and the Yankees have been hitting bombs, so they're in a decent spot. I know Boston, but going up against Atlanta, maybe not so much. Minnesota, Seattle, these are a couple good spots. Everybody's going to be in Coors Field. These are places I would target, and I just try to narrow it down from there. But I've at least cut the fluff out. I've hyper-simplified things, okay? Those would be the teams that I would look at. If I was building single-entry lineups, I would be going with one of these teams. Who do I think is most likely to score a bunch of runs, and I stack them? You know, you can also cut down into the leverage stacks tool, look at ownership tonight. Since we were looking at FanDuel, let's look at FanDuel. And let's see San Francisco and Coors, no surprise. Arizona. Well, Arizona might be a team to fade because Arizona's not facing a team that's given up a ton of runs, and Arizona hasn't been scoring a ton of runs lately. They were at the bottom of that list the last 2 weeks, if you remember. That looks like a good fade. New York and Baltimore, fairly highly owned, fairly reasonable, especially Baltimore. Don't generate a lot of leverage based on leverage stacks, so maybe we'd go a different direction. Look up here at San Fran, generates more offense or more leverage out there in Coors. Cincinnati, more leverage than these two teams down here. Your big ones up here, Seattle and Minnesota, Houston, Boston, Chicago White Sox. Chicago White Sox, Tampa Bay. If you game stacked it again, you're dealing with a couple of teams that are not going to catch a lot of people. You know, they have some reasonability, but they're not catching the eye. They're flying under the radar, and it shouldn't surprise you if they go off. I don't know. If it's me, I might incorporate some of that. If we look back a couple of days ago, we could have been targeting Pittsburgh, which didn't do so well, but Chicago and Tampa Bay, that game did go well a couple of days ago. Kansas City, Minnesota, San Diego, Oakland, the Dodgers. I mean, these are good teams that were facing bad teams in the process. Yesterday, Cincy, Philly, Pittsburgh again, Baltimore didn't score. I think they got shut out. But Tampa Bay on the main slate, Yankees, Minnesota Twins, Kansas City, Chicago Cubs, San Diego, Dodgers again. You're getting pointed in the right direction. That is the key. Get yourself pointed in the right direction, go into the optimizer, and set it up to where you've removed the teams that have little to no chance at going off. Now, I understand it's baseball, and I understand that randomness wins. But you also have to understand that when those really, really low-owned, low-odds teams go off, nobody has them either. You're going to improve your odds in smaller field, single-entry type of contests by playing something a little bit more reasonable. You don't need that wacky let. Now, if you're going to win the nickel or the quarter and, somebody way low-owned goes off, yeah, you're going to have them. When Oakland scored 20 the other night or whatever, of course, you'd have to have them to win. You could still get a little bit deeper into the money with some of the more reasonable stuff. But if you were playing, say, a smaller field, say 100 to 200 man, 500 man contest, you might not have needed Oakland to have a great, great night. Like, I'm sure in a 500 person contest, somebody stacked Oakland. That's fine. But you maybe could have gotten to third place or fourth place and still done really, really well for yourself. If you control what you're doing. Another thing that I would say, and I'll leave you with this, would be maybe laddering contests. Let's say we play a 10-man or a 20-man league with a lineup that has, I don't know, some decent leverage, but some ownership to it, even if it's Baltimore tonight or whatever paired with, say, Tampa Bay. That makes a ton of sense. And if you played that combination of teams, then you put it in a 10-man contest and it might do okay because it's kind of chalky, but it's not like super, super chalky. Then you might take that and drop that in a single entry tournament as well. You play $1 in the 10-man, $1 in the 200 to 500 to 1100 man single entry. Take your chances at it. You win the 10-man, on a lower score than it takes to win the single entry for sure. And then you capitalize on a really, really good night if you do get lucky in the other. But you're kind of using that 10-man league or 3-man league or 5-man league or whatever. You're going to win that more often. You're using that to triple up or quintuple up your money to then turn around and pay off the entries to the bigger contests that are kind of playing the lottery tickets. Hopefully that stuff makes sense to you. If it doesn't make sense to you, you need coaching. You need to come into dfsarmy.com. You need to be asking questions. If it does make sense to you, then have a good night, and we'll talk to you on the other side. See ya.